So one beauty about Toastmasters is everyone helps each other without expecting something in return.
Maybe that's why it's a secret. It's such a beautiful organization where it's all about support. But now I kind of say that instead of breaking glass ceilings, I think we need to break that glass mirror that we see ourselves in. Leadership doesn't have that luxury. If we are ready-ish 40-50%, we should just take that brave step and go. And one of my interviewers, a very well-meaning gentleman, instead of interviewing me, instead gave me advice saying, Gauri, because you're a friend and someone that I look out for, I would say don't go for leadership. Step away from all this, otherwise you lose the prime. So,
from India, alright, and then international director. What was the thought of continuing your leadership journey in Toastmasters?
And that kind of curiosity led me to apply for the other roles. Back in the days, they used to say leadership is tough and you can't please everybody. And if you want to please everybody, sell ice cream. So I don't think there's any job where you can be satisfying everybody.
Correct.
When you lead people, when you lead our members, they don't truly report to you. They can drop out whenever they want.
Yes.
You don't pay them a salary.
Correct.
Yet they show up week after week. And I truly believe that if you can lead in Toastmasters, you can lead anywhere in the world, right? I'll be very honest. I'm a numbers person, an engineer. I love my books, my Excel sheet.
I love numbers as well. So yeah, that's
to deal with people, it was like HR and,
Correct.
This person doesn't like this and you have to satisfy that person. It was the most challenging role for me, but I think I came out as a much better person, picking up new skills along the way.
So you say better person, was it individually or because you ranked number one that year?
The number one was the icing on the cake. But personally, so before I took up my first district leadership role, I have a mentor in Toastmasters. You may know him, past international director Rajshekha.
Yes.
And I had a conversation with him and he said two things, Gary. One is see what you're going to contribute to this role that you're going into and what you're going to take out of this role. Like, how are you going to make this role better, right? And two, also think about what do you want to pick up for yourself as Gauri Seshadri from that. And I've thought about that each and every year. So while they say leadership is selfless and it's servant leadership, for me, I'm approaching it more from a selfish viewpoint. What can I learn in this role? What skill set will I pick up from this?
So I agree. I think I've had this debate argument with a lot of people that while you talk about it being selfless or service leadership, if at the end of the year, if I'm not getting something out of it, I will not keep doing it. There'll always be a finite full stop to it that, that am I getting satisfaction from it? Even
Right.
that's a purpose.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
that is being
I
selfish
agree.
because I'm drawing some purpose out of it. Right? It's not always free lunches everywhere.
I need to truly enjoy what I'm doing, otherwise I'm not doing it.
Absolutely. So the journey, 5 years in the leadership, when you took over as district director, did you have a vision, a plan, a roadmap? Things didn't go as per plan. Sometimes people do not agree with us because it's again a voluntary organization. You don't choose the people you work with completely out there. How was that 12 months been, if you want to reflect on that today?
Did I have a vision? It was to end the year better than we had done the previous year. That was the vision. It was not number one or let's meet this percentage. But the plan was very simple. The plan was stick to the basics, take it one step at a time. So as a leader, we have a lot of KPIs and deadlines. And it was like, take one KPI at a time. Don't look at that final end result. If you just focus on the job you're doing, the results happen automatically. So that was the plan going in. In terms of leading a team of volunteers, in Toastmasters, when you lead people, when you lead our members, they don't truly report to you. They can drop out whenever they want.
Yes.
You don't pay them a salary.
Correct.
Yet they show up week after week. And I truly believe that if you can lead in Toastmasters, you can lead anywhere in the world, right? In any other corporate company, because there's a salary part involved. So that wasn't it.
So my best pitch to a lot of division directors today is that if you're able to get work done from people who do not report to you, do not get paid for it, imagine what you can do in your corporate life.
Exactly.
You're leading people who are actually getting paid for doing that work out there. So that's true. Any time during the year you, like you said, it's a difficult year. You didn't want to complete the year. You had conflicts, or you were not very sure about where it is. Maybe taking too much of your mind space and time space as well. Because having been in that position, I know it takes up a lot of bandwidth
Right.
individually. Uh, with, like you said, there's HR, there is sales, there's marketing, there's administration, there's finance. You're doing everything. Technically, the CEO of the
Right.
space out there. So any time that you wanted to step out of the football game altogether?
Plenty of times. I would wake up in the morning and say, please let this day get over. Let me just step into tomorrow. District director of staff had my own share of conflicts as a leader. I'm someone, and I'm confessing this, I eat a lot to comfort myself when I'm stressed. A lot of my mom often jokes, my classmates would lose weight during exams and I would gain weight. So I put on a lot of weight at that point of time. But what helped me grounded was that the team members, they were like, go forward, we believe in you, we support in you. And the best thing about being in Toastmasters, or in fact even in a corporate structure, is you're not an individual contributor, you're always in a team, right? So even if you are having a bad day, there's someone who'll cover up for you and make things good. So yes, our district did become number one, but I didn't become number one. It's the team and the members who became number one.
So I still remember in September when I was the district director, I had given you a call, and I was like, what do I do for the next 6 to 9 months? And you had to mention that, Hardik, don't care about what they think today about you. Care about what they think about you on 30th of June,
Right.
when the year ends, because they'll forget everything else
Yes.
if they're successful on that day. And that mattered. I know a lot of people were cajoled, had to be pushed. And I strongly believe in the fact that if I'm the same person on 1st July and 30th June, I've wasted those 12 months in my role, title, leadership. Something uncomfortable. Maybe it's, like you mentioned about sales pitches, right? A lot of people feel sales is a downward job.
Right.
But making that pitch to a corporate needs a lot of confidence and preparations, and the question they can counter ask you with, or doing a contest flawlessly.
Yeah.
There could be any small aspect which I have never done, but I'm able to build that, and pushing people to do a little more than what they have been able to do, or stretch a little more
Right.
than they have been. And I know a lot of people hated me during the year for that. I've had enough conversations on that on 31st December, 31st March. But I remember when the dashboard refreshes in Toastmaster, where the numbers are displayed for everyone to look at, and when they see a small alphabet in front of their respective geographies,
Yeah.
It ends everything else.
It
The
doesn't.
history is erased and you write a new history. And I think that's also come from the fact that, it's always the winners who write the script.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for being there at that point in time.
You're the storyteller of your own story, and you can change that narrative
Correct.
as and when you
Whenever
want.
you want.
I just wanted to add, like before, back in the days, they used to say leadership is tough and you can't please everybody. And if you want to please everybody, sell ice cream. But I say that, my 7-year-old niece doesn't like all flavors of ice cream either. And then there's, frozen yogurt
Frozen,
and all
yeah.
that stuff. So I don't think there's any job where you can be satisfying everybody at the same.
Correct. And of course, the leadership, you're always responsible for the organization that you're leading, and not just the individual that is there in
Right.
place. You look
Yeah.
at the larger good and not individual good always. That's the difference in empathy. Empathy is that, okay, I understand your problems,
Yeah.
but the work cannot stop completely because of that. You'll find a way to do it. You take a break.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, the team was there backing up when you had challenges. I think that's been something at Toastmasters I've learned very closely, that people are a call away.
Yeah.
But you have to make that call.
You have to make that call. Yeah.
People don't assume that you need help out there. So from district, the Indian level, to the international geographical space of leadership, you were the first woman regional advisor in Asia at that point in time.
From India.
From India, alright. And then international director. What was the thought of continuing your leadership journey in Toastmasters?
I had so much fun being a leader. I mean, yes, the problems and the conflicts and the challenges and the I give up today, those kind of things happen. But like you said, once you end the year, you see those alphabets pop up. There's that sense of satisfaction. For me, I think I would define success as, to look back and say, Gauri, how far have you come from a girl who did not know where she was actually starting with, right? Since I had so much of fun and leadership, I was like, what am I going to learn at the international level? Is it going to be that easy outside of my comfort zone, my own home? And that kind of curiosity led me to apply for the other roles. Yeah.
So, as a regional advisor, you're responsible for operation of 20 countries, and then an international director, the strategy team of 145 countries. How was that been?
The regional advisor is a role that I thoroughly enjoyed because I was regional advisor for 2 consecutive years for 2 different regions, covering the whole Asia Pacific region. And you think, oh, everything's Asia, but no, when you visit the countries, the cultures, there are some similarities, but there's a lot of difference, and you have to learn to adapt. As Indians, we generally tend to speak much faster, and I had to learn to slow down my pace. I had to learn to keep their cultures in consideration when I'm making an example or cracking a joke, because jokes may not translate across cultures, those kind of things. And I had to also understand, most importantly, what values were important to them, because I could only lead with those values in mind, what was important to them. So, as a region advisor and having helped supported the operations for over 20 countries, it gave me a little more global perspective of the organization. And when I stepped up for international director, I had to have a complete mindset shift. If operations on the one hand was, how do I keep the machines running smoothly and efficiently? Strategy on the other hand was to learn to ask myself the question, why are the machines running in the first place itself? So that shift in the why, from the how to the why, and it made me see, what values are important and how we lead at the organization level. So
operations is about daily jobs, but strategy is more from a larger perspective.
Vision.
A 30,000 feet view of what is happening, what's not happening out there. So before we deep dive into how the board functions, all right, one thing important that Toastmasters is still a volunteer, not-for-profit organization. The question is the time we spend, the learnings we have over here. If we do not implement that in our personal professional life, we are wasting what we're learning in Toastmasters. Drawing parallels to your professional life at this point in time, how has your Toastmasters leadership journey helped you in your professional life? So
my degree, like I said, is chemical engineering. My specialization was air pollution, but environmental is a little bit like law. The laws are different in different countries. So while I was a very senior consultant in the US, when I decided to move back home, I wanted to start from the beginning, and I was willing to start from the beginning because I did not know the environmental regulations out here. Unfortunately, our country had age limits on entry-level jobs, and I was past those age limits. So I was like, what can I do slightly different going forward? And over the years, in Toastmasters and at my first job, I picked up a lot of managerial skills, a lot of people management skills, and those skills transfer across any field, any career. This whole closing the sale, persuasion, negotiation, that works in any job, depending on the role that you're playing. And so I used those skills with every opportunity that came to me. I worked in travel, I worked in digital marketing and branding, I'm now working in game-based learning. All you need to have is an open mindset, and whether you have the degree for it or not, like a podcast Beyond the Degree, you can always pick up things on a daily basis. So.
Interesting. So, being a little more on the generalist side in terms of women leaders, 20 years back or 15 years back, there was still a question in terms of, women are still trying to find that feminism dialogue was still going on. Today, things are a lot more better comparatively. Did you find that as a challenge that as a women leader, you had to fight for your space somewhere?
I had to fight for my
space.
Apart
from elections.
No, I had to fight for my space in Toastmasters itself. Like you mentioned a few minutes ago, when I joined Toastmasters in India, while we were not starting off, we were still in the preliminary stages of Toastmasters. And we did have 1 or 2 women leaders out there, but it was mostly a male-dominant leadership. And I remember, and I was coming back from the US, so my communication style was very assertive, not aggressive, but assertive. And I used to not do the Hanji and Sir and Madam. I was on the first name basis, right? And that didn't go really well with a lot of people. And I had to learn to take a step back, and that came with time. I also remember when I was first interviewing, so we have an interview process before we step up for district leadership. And I was interviewing for Club Road Director. And one of my interviewers, a very well meaning gentleman, instead of interviewing me, instead gave me advice saying, Gauri, because you're a friend and someone that I look out for, I would say don't go for leadership. You're already in the kind of the older category for women. So take some time out, find yourself a guy, get married, step away from all this. Otherwise, you lose the prime. So, and I very nicely thanked them and said, "This is what I love," and
So the Pommy Auntie in Toastmasters, basically. Maybe I think it's time to have a matrimony Toastmasters club also. A lot of single people.
Maybe, but there are lots of couples that I know in Toastmasters as well. Didn't work out for me. But I was very happy to be the first, very proud and honored to be the first woman district director of my district. And if I've opened at least one door for somebody or given hope for one other woman in my district, then I'll take that with pride.
And the first woman Indian first VP from India as well.
Yes.
So that's opening a lot of doors for India to be on the.
Well, if I can give a little bit of glimmer of hope, then I think that's a good thing, right?
I think the last couple of years, even the board has shuffled a lot to have more women leaders coming in. The last couple of presidents have been women.
We are very woman dominant out there on the board right now.
I remember we had this debate last year when I was like, it has to be balanced, means there has to be at least one male on the board out there. But so, as a woman leader, of course, in Toastmasters, but do you think somewhere in your personal or professional life also, as a woman, to find your space, you had some challenges?
I did, but I think the places that I've been with have been supportive. Of course, there are these naysayers here and there, but I think we often put obstacles in our own path. And I want to be cautious of the women out there because I know that there are true challenges out. And believe me, it was not easy for me as well. But now I kind of say that instead of breaking glass ceilings, I think we need to break that glass mirror that we see ourselves in. The imposter syndrome is quite true. And sometimes when we look in the mirror, we don't see a person who's ready to take on leadership. Women in general, or I shouldn't generalize, but I think we are ready to step up only when we feel we are 100% ready. And leadership doesn't have that luxury. If we are ready-ish, 40-50%, we should just take that brave step and go in, because we're never going to have all of our life sorted out. Even men don't do, right? Sure. When you just feel ready, you step up. And Toastmasters is the safest place. We have more women leaders than men at the moment. So I think you should practice. Step up.
So last year you got elected as the second vice president, and of course you were on the board before that also. But initially it was of course representing a particular region. Now you represent the entire world in Toastmasters. How does that feel?
It feels awesome.
It does.
But honestly, I just feel very grateful to have been given this position, because it's a position that members have trusted me with. It's a position that I'll use very responsibly. I try to do that every day on the board. It gives me a chance to support my peers on the board to shape the future of the organization as well.
So tell us, how does the board function at a not-for-profit like Toastmasters?
So our board's composed of 19 board members. So we have 14 representatives from regions. We have our exco, the remaining 5. We also have our CEO, who's our board member. And when the decisions come through, or we have to make decisions, topics on the agenda, we don't look at it from just our region's perspective or India's perspective or China's perspective. Yes, we might be coming from this country and we can offer more insights on it. But when we are making decisions, we see what's best for the entire world, the majority of Toastmasters. There might be some people who may not be happy with certain decisions, but like any leadership, we look at what's in the best interest of most of the members.
So, is it always consensual? Are there always questions which are difficult to discuss and debate and deliberate? And also the fact that the board changes every year.
Yeah.
Does that also make it difficult to consistently keep growing in the direction, because the thought process, the thought leadership has to be reintroduced.
Right. I think every discussion is treated very seriously. Okay, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or $100,000, as board members, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the board. So we do look at everything seriously, and we do debate. We don't often agree, which is a good thing because we are avoiding groupthink. But we do make decisions based on consensus so that everyone's perspective is heard and then we put it to vote. It does take time for deliberation, but I think it's time well spent. In terms of the board changing every year, could we have more stability in that? Probably we could, but the board we don't change the entire board every year. There's still people who are there for the continuity's sake, right? And the board does not operate based on the whims and fancies of one single person. So as an organization, we know what our priorities of the organization are, and that leads us in our discussions and our debates, deliberations.
So today Toastmasters is almost 100 years old organization. You've been part of it for 20 years. That's 1/5 of the time the Toastmasters has been in existence for. And a lot of, I think, a good amount of years in leadership across district, region, and international roles as well. Especially post-COVID, we have seen a major decline in terms of how the clubs are, how the members are. The experience has changed for people. A lot of things have logically changed for people. The prices have increased. In a lot of places in India or in Singapore for that matter, we've had the fee hike, we have the GST hike that has come in, the taxes impacting individuals. And while the pricing is the same across the globe, the experience may be different for people. So in your experience and your leadership positions, do you think something in the last 5 years could have been different?
I think if we were aware that the pandemic was coming, we probably would have been better prepared. But I believe that we have learned our lessons from the pandemic. It's one thing to go through something and not learn from it, and it's another thing to learn from it. And what we've learned is we always have to have contingency plans. Our organization, which is usually or traditionally has been very slow to adapt to change, suddenly has become a more agile organization. Even at the board, we are making very agile decisions of what is relevant here, what's relevant in the next 2 years. We have gone from a 5-year strategic plan to a 3-year strategic plan. In terms of the cost, unfortunately, it's by law we have to comply with the rules of the government, the law of the land. But in spite of all that, we try and provide or do our best to provide the same experience across the board. I know it's difficult for some folks. I'm from India myself, so I can feel the pinch of the GST hitting me and the dollar rate conversions. But I think more than money, and we do spend money on a lot of things like Starbucks and the coffees and the dinners and all that stuff. Maybe it's one coffee less, one cafe latte less. But I think what we all need to look at, you're a leader in Toastmaster yourself, is the value that we are providing our members. And if we are providing the value, I think members will be willing to pay whatever money there is.
True. So, if you had to look at your journey of 20 years, can recall one Toastmaster whose life changed within a few months or few years of being a member?
Right. It's someone that you also may know. Do you know Rajshekha Mamindana?
Yeah.
So Rajshekha Mamindana was a Toastmaster who joined Toastmasters in Bangalore. I hope I have his permission to say this. I know he often shares his story. And when he initially would speak, he was not very fluent in English. He also stammered a little bit. And Toastmasters gave him that courage and he picked up skills. He went on to become our district humorous speech champion. He later moved to Hyderabad and now he's a very successful stand-up comedian. He also does a lot of sessions and he spreads the word and love for Toastmasters also around. So that's someone that I've seen whose life has changed completely. Yeah.
So one beauty about Toastmasters is everyone helps each other without expecting something in return.
All right.
As long as you have to make that call to the individual. Right. Why does that happen? It doesn't happen anywhere else but in Toastmasters. What is the secret sauce for it?
I think I don't know. Maybe that's why it's a secret. It's such a beautiful organization where it's all about support. We want to applaud you. We want you to do your best. And even if you stumble, even if you fumble on your words, we want to clap for you because you had the courage to stand on that stage out there facing the entire audience. And I don't think that you find that in any other
We
organization
don't.
across the
Yeah.
world. And I hope more people realize this, that this is a place, or this is a space where it's safe to make mistakes, where it's safe to fail. Your failure is not considered funny. If we laugh with you and not at you. So I hope people take more and more advantage of this space, and then go and exhibit the skills they've picked up in the real world out there.
So you've been there for almost 20 years, right? Now, the fact that Toastmasters is across the world, there are only probably 3 lakh active members.
But here's the thing, right? Retention can be good or bad. Now, if people meet their needs and then they move away, then that's amazing, all right? But if they're leaving because they didn't like the experience in the club, then that's something that we need to be worried about.
So, what is that? While there's attraction to the community, but how can Toastmasters be different? But also, a lot of time there are elections that are there for the positions out there, and some people are very aggressive in
Right.
terms of approaching it, handling situations, and all of that.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that passion that they bring in whichever form, you might call aggression, I might call it passion. Sometimes those boundaries are broken.
But this leads to interpersonal
It does.
conflicts
It
a lot.
does.